Well, let's go to the next question here, Jim. This was sent via the official Cult of Cornette Facebook group.
Is there hope for the people still waiting? Are we still ushering people through the doors?
We are. It's been a little slow lately. There's been a lot going on that we will be talking about sooner rather than later here on these shows. But yes, keep waiting. And
keep not. Oh, you're going to be in soon. It's like, keep waiting.
Yeah, it'll happen. And also, if you're already in, keep behaving yourself. But let's go to some questions here. From Jerry Smith. Could Jim tell the story about when a fan jumped him in Columbia, South Carolina? Jim defended himself with the racket.
Huh.
Then the governor's son helped act as an alibi. What?
You've heard this. I've told you this.
I don't know. Most of your stories I think of, I hate to say it, I think of the Mid-South incidents and maybe some of the later WCW ones, but I'm not sure about this one.
Okay. Well, it's the Midnight Express versus Brian Pillman and Z-Man for the U.S. Tag Team title. And we're the champions at that point, defending Columbia, South Carolina, the Township Auditorium. And just so happened that at the time, the governor of South Carolina was a guy named Carroll Campbell, a male Carroll. And his son, Mike, was the biggest fan in the world, and he used to come to the matches, and he even invited on a couple of occasions, the guys to come by the governor's mansion and have, refreshments on their way to the matches or whatever. I never was on one of those trips, but Flair was down there quite a bit. Mike loved Flair, right? So anyway, the finish of the match is, as the baby faces are making a comeback to get in a four-way, the referee's distracted. Pillman gets a sleeper on, let's say, Bobby. But I roll in the ring, run with my racket, and I'm going to whack Pillman to break up the sleeper, but he sees me coming, throws Bobby to the side, reaches his arm around, and catches me in the fucking sleeper. And, oh, God, and my arms are flailing, and goddamn, the people are going crazy. He's going to put Cornette to sleep, and I'm going down. And that's when I've dropped the racket, and Bobby picks it up and whacks Pillman over the back of the fucking head. And I roll out groggy off the apron and grab my racket and et cetera. And I'm selling there while the referee turns around. Bobby's covering Brian 1, 2, 3. So we retain the tag team belts, right? So I just happened to have rolled out on the side where the ring announcer's table is. And I grabbed the U.S. tag team belts because the heels are going to roll out on the floor, leave the baby faces in the ring. We're going to get our hand up on the floor and get the fuck out of there. So, as I've got the tag team belts over my left arm, both of them draped over my left arm. I got the racket in my right hand, and I'm headed down the side of the ring toward the heel aisleway to join Bobby and Stan. At this point, and I should say also, when I've come in and Brian has thrown Bobby to the side and grabbed me in the sleeper, he cross-faced me across the nose with his left arm when he's putting the sleeper on, so he bumped my nose, so my nose is bleeding a little bit. But obviously, everybody knows I've been prone to nosebleeds. So anyway, as I'm headed down here, a guy suddenly stands up from the front row, leans right over the rail, and punches me in the back of the head. And boom, as I turn around, I see he's this big guy. He's like 6'2", 6'3", probably wiry guy, lanky, probably about 190 pounds, in his late 30s, regular South Carolina-looking redneck fella that would be sitting on the front row, right? So he's punched me in the back of the head. I turn around, and I fucking come around with the racket from my right hand, and I whack him in the fucking head. Boom! Well, he goddamn registers it, but he doesn't sell it. He doesn't go anywhere. He's still leaning over that rail. So now I've committed, right?
Yes.
And the cops are nowhere around. So now I have to continue hitting this motherfucker until they get there, or elsewise I'm going to give him the opening to hit me. That's generally what happens. So I throw the fucking belts up in the air so I can grab the racket with both hands because it looks like he's going to be a two-hander. He absorbed the initial round and didn't give up any ground. That was a one-hander. So I fucking grab it, wham, wham, wham. On about the third one, across the and he's trying to block it with his, on the third one, he stumbles backwards into the back into his front row seat. So now I'm over the rail swinging a couple more to make sure he stays there. And here come the cops. As soon as they get there, then I stop hitting him. And they grab him and I go on to the back. Well, when we get in the locker room, I know from experience, because this has happened to me a few hundred times before that even if he hit me first, there's still going to be some chaos or consternation here. So immediately, my nose is already bleeding. So when I sit down, I adopt my strategy, and here come the cops a couple seconds later. They saw him hit me. They saw him lean over the rail and punch me, but they couldn't tell where, because it happened so quick, right? But I'm bleeding from the nose. I said, yeah, look, he hit me right in the nose. Yep, boy, we see that. And then in comes the state athletic commissioner from the South Carolina Athletic Commission. The old guy, he was there at every show. He comes in. Boy, Jim, you okay? I saw that guy hit you right in the nose. I said, boy, look at my nose. It's bleeding. And then I'm starting to feel a little bit better when in walks Mike Campbell, the son of the governor of the state of South Carolina. And the first words out of his mouth were, that guy hit you right in the nose. I said, of course he did. Look at it. It's so later on, when it came out in the newspaper, we were come to find out that, yes, this guy was in his late 30s. And yes, he was 6'3". And yes, he was a wiry individual, approximately my size, but he was also somewhat learning disabled.
Oh.
And yeah.
That's a bad ending to this story I didn't expect.
Well, but now there is a little bit more to it.
Oh my God.
Because here's the thing. My response to that was, well, he didn't have a sign around his neck saying, don't fight back, I'm and who's supposed to be sitting next to him to prevent him from punching out the heels at the fucking wrestling show when he bought him a front row ticket? And it was only a minor fracture of his fucking forearm, where he was warding off the blows. And I think just a tiny little cut on his head, nothing like the guy in Altoona that came over the rail and grabbed Bobby. I laid open from asshole to appetite. And there was a piece in the newspaper that said that a couple of people in the second row said that it looked like I was committing an axe murder. But the thing was, in the long run, to protect myself a little bit from any further legal jeopardy, they said, the cops and, the commissioner said, well, do you want to go to the hospital? I said, no. I said, well, I just live in Charlotte. I said, we're getting it stopped here. It's stopping now. I've got it plugged up. I'll go to the hospital when I get home. So in the car, the boys remind me, obviously, yeah, you better go and get a medical, thing. So what I did was, when I got back home, I told my wife at the time, I said, I'm going to be occupied for the next couple hours. Got to go to the hospital. She said, what? I told her what happened. So I went in the bathroom. And now my nose is not bleeding anymore, and he only bumped it. I'm an easy nose bleeder. So I had to have something to show the people at the hospital. So I got in the mirror, and I took my knuckles, not the fucking top row of knuckles on your fist, but your middle knuckles in your finger, right? And I made my fist, and I fucking gathered my thoughts, and I blistered myself in the bridge of the nose about 3 times to get a little fucking swelling. And then I picked my right nostril real hard to get it bleeding again. And then I went over to the emergency room, and I told him, I said, yeah, this fucking guy at the wrestling matches tonight, he punched me right in the nose. And they had the report and et cetera of how I went to the doctor, and the boy, yeah, you got the swelling and the puffiness and obviously nosebleed, et cetera. Yeah, you've been hitting the nose. And then I sent that in to Jim fucking Hurd. And he sent me a letter back. I think was that the one that I reprinted in the Midnight Express book? Or maybe it was another one. But on this one, he said, well, the evidence at hand more than substantiates that you were assaulted by a fan. But in the future, please do not retaliate as, we will beef up our security where needed in the future. If he'd have been involved in the wrestling business in 1986 for Crockett, or 84 for Watts, or 85 for Fritz, he would have been writing those letters 3 times or 4 times a fucking week to me and everybody else. By the time that he came in WCW, we had no heat. Nobody was doing anything. So I think in the whole time from the time they bought Crockett in November of 88 until I left, Hurd was still there in October of 90. I think I was the only one that ever got fucking hopped on by a fan or hit one in return. Possibly there was somebody else. I can't remember.
All right. Well, the next question, Jim, from the Cult of Cornette Facebook group.
But that was what was happening in Columbia at that time.
Yeah, I didn't know that story. I don't think I'd ever heard that one before.
Jim, he hit you right in the nose. He sure did.